Southern California Edison gives a reason for the problems keeping San Onofre shut down. I'm Dwayne Brown. The story is coming up on KPBS Evening Edition.
And I'm Peggy Pico. The passionate controversy over renovation at Balboa Park continues with a potential lawsuit. Plus, the denial of accreditation at a local university could mean 3,000 fewer jobs in San Diego. I'll have an in-depth analysis on tonight's roundtable.
Also, more than 100,000 fans and tens of millions of dollars. We look at the economic impact of Comic-Con. And we'll meet some local artists hoping Comic-Con will have a big impact on their careers. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dwayne Brown. The operator of San Onofre says a settling of support equipment is to blame for keeping the nuclear plant offline. The plant in San Diego's North County has been shut down since January because of unusual wear in tubes carrying radioactive water to steam generators. Federal regulators say tubes must be plugged if the wear exceeds 30%. Southern California Edison, the operator, says it's plugged more than 1,300 tubes at San Onofre, but most of them were below the 35% threshold and were only blocked as a precaution. An anti-nuclear group says Edison is downplaying the problem. For the fourth time in a week, U.S. border agents discovered a suspected drug tunnel. 2 were found in Tijuana and 2 in Arizona. One of the Tijuana tunnels even had a rail car system where agents found 4 moving trucks filled with marijuana. A medical advisory group says veterans of the Iraq and Afghan wars should get checked yearly for post-traumatic stress disorder. 2.6 million have been deployed to those countries. It's estimated as many as 20% of these vets have symptoms of PTSD, but barely half get treated because of worries it could jeopardize their careers. The Institute of Medicine also says federal agencies need to do more research on how well various treatments are working. Some supporters of California's failed tobacco tax, Proposition 29, are not giving up. They've requested a recount in parts of Los Angeles County. The measure lost by less than 30,000 votes in the June primary. A member of the American Heart Association wants to see if a recount would swing the outcome the other way. So he's actually paying for the recount, which starts Monday. San Diego's largest convention, Comic-Con, is delivering a $180 million punch to the economy. KPBS business and environment reporter Eric Anderson says there's a lot of money changing hands this week.
The San Diego Convention Center is a pop culture smorgasbord this week. It's about the comics, the movies, the stars, the costumes, the video games, the fans, but most of all, it's about the money. Now, inside the convention center is where a lot of the business of Comic-Con happens. But if you look over here, you'll see the convention actually spills out into downtown San Diego, and of course that creates business there as well.
This whole area is completely different during the Comic-Con show, so we're just part of that.
Major media companies have changed the face of the gas lamp. Stores, buildings, the trolley, even local eateries have transformed. Lou and Mickey's turned their bar and grill over to a gaming company.
GameSpot will be having a live stage show out on the patio area, and then we've partnered with some sponsors that are bringing some popular gaming titles.
Hotels are cashing in, pedicab drivers, and restaurants. Nathan Wing is the manager of Toscana Cafe, just a block from the convention center. He says it's a week of non-stop business.
We open at 6 a.m., we close at 11, and we have a line at the door from all points of the day. It's a lot of fun, though. The crowd they bring is a really nice crowd. It's a great atmosphere. It's great to be in the Gaslamp Quarter.
Comic-Con will generate $75 million in direct spending this week, more than $2.6 million in tax revenue. San Diego State University professor Myro Kopik says it's worth even more than that.
So you have a marquee event, and obviously when you have a lot of media from outside of San Diego, they're going to showcase, number one, the tourist value of San Diego as a whole, but I think more importantly what it shows, and if San Diego does this effectively as a city and a convention and visitors bureau, really showcase San Diego from a business perspective.
The convention runs through Sunday. Comic-Con is under contract with the San Diego Convention Center for 3 more years.
What's the traffic like around here?
Here's the traffic.
Text my wife, I'm going to be 30 minutes late.
Driving while texting is against the law, of course, but now it's officially okay to let Siri do it for you. Today, Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill letting drivers use voice-activated devices. It brings state law up to date with current technology. Here's a riddle for you. Name an animal native to South America whose ears are shaped like bananas. If you said llamas, you're absolutely correct. And the Siebel family in El Cajon have rescued 10 of them. In a neighborhood overlooking San Diego's East County, Bob and Kathleen Siebel don't only have an awesome view, they've created a peaceful, tranquil home for Wooster, Deli, Marlowe, Sterling, Stormy, Webster, Bobby, Nikki, and the 2 eldest llamas, Lewis and Freckles. Hey, Sterling. Hey, how are you? Llama kiss. Ooh. It's this type of affection that captured the heart of this couple from Ithaca, New York, who brought most of these cousins to the Camel to San Diego 7 years ago.
We brought 9 of them out here. Most of those were rescued animals that we had gotten from various sources, so we didn't know a lot about their backgrounds.
Bob is a professor at California Western School of Law and says taking in rescue animals is like doing pro bono work or giving back to the community.
It's like I always tell my students, you have to be doing something for work that you really love. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable.
His wife, Kathleen, also works at Cal Western and says they both grew up without animals in their lives.
My grandmother always had cats and dogs and assorted critters, and that was always something that I aspired to. And, fortunately,
look at here.
It worked out. Yep. So we met in law school and discovered that among other mutual interests, we loved animals.
Wooster is another one of the family's friendly llamas I came in contact with. Did you see that? We were getting along so well, my photographer Roland was feeling the love and wanted to give it a try.
Let me see your teeth. I'm going to eat it if you don't want it.
The Siebels say taking care of the llamas is no more difficult than taking care of their cats or dogs. So will you keep them or will you...
Oh, yeah. They've got a home for life.
That's a beautiful thing. Lucky llamas.
Yeah. Lucky us.
As for spitting, the only time the llamas do that is when they confront each other, the couple says. In fact, they say the life expectancy of a llama is 20 to 25 years. The Siebels have 2 within that age range. This week's top stories included the controversial renovation of Balboa Park's Plaza de Panama and problems for a San Diego university, which could mean 3,000 fewer jobs. Peggy Pico is talking about it at the Roundtable.
The 7.5-hour epic city council meeting on Monday ended with the approval of the Plaza de Panama project in Balboa Park. Or did it? A lawsuit to block the project was threatened the very next day. To talk about the theater of passion still surrounding this project is UT San Diego reporter Roger Scholey. But first, Bridgepoint's for-profit Ashford University manages most of its 78,000 students from its San Diego office. But that's likely to change since the school was denied accreditation. To talk about that fallout is Voice of San Diego reporter Liam Dillon. Thank you both for being here. Liam, let's start with you. Ashford University was denied accreditation. By whom and why?
Sure. I'll give you the really quick, wonky sentence, and I'll tell you what it means.
All right.
So a Western Regional Accreditor said no to Ashford University's application to be accredited. What accredited means is it's a key marker of legitimacy for a school. So it says a school is legitimate. It allows students to transfer credits between different institutions. But most importantly for Bridgepoint's education model is that it allows for access to federal financial aid. And so that's how Bridgepoint Ashford would make most of their money. Students would attend, would be able to get student aid, and that would allow the school to be able to make money off of it.
So they were denied, and one of the reasons, the major reason they were denied was the student outcomes. Is that the only reason?
Well, it's related to student outcomes, and it's interesting sort of what you define student outcomes as being. This accreditor in this case looked at graduation rates, the things of that nature to sort of see how well they were doing.
The graduation rate that we're looking at is out of 87,000 students, the dropout rate is 84%. Roger, how does that compare to what you know of community community colleges and other state colleges and their dropout rates?
I think San Diego City College is, I think, 26%, and University of Phoenix is like 12%.
Something like that, yeah.
But then the regular four-year institutions in San Diego are much higher than that, and I would say this is on the low end of outcomes.
So you mean much higher as in a much higher graduation rate?
Right.
Right. So 84% seems high even for this kind of for-profit university.
84% dropout.
Dropout.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
dropout
it's
rate.
decently in line with what the other for-profit schools are doing, but I think that there is sort of a more hardline stance being taken by some of the accreditors that's saying, hey, are these the kind of universities that we wanted to affiliate ourselves with when they're accrediting and they're giving their stamp of approval on it, and whether the federal government wants to continue to pump money into these schools through student loans, and that's why there's kind of being a hard look taken at them now.
Right, and there was the dropout rate, but that wasn't the only reason. There was some issue about how much money the executives there were being made. Do you?
Right, they and also how much they spend on marketing versus teaching.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's it's a lot different from the normal colleges we think of.
Right. And when we're taking a look at that right now, 42% of their money was spent on marketing, only 38% on instruction, and another 20% on administration, to a total of $497 million last year. That sounds high to me.
Well, sure. I mean, yes. Compared to other nonprofit education institutions, or just to nonprofit education institutions, that's certainly high. Now that the accreditor did note there were steps taken by Bridgepoint, by Ashford, to try to pump up more the student success side of the equation rather than just the marketing side. But I think sort of the real key thing here is how much this is going to affect San Diego.
Absolutely.
Really, really important. Bridgepoint is a huge private employer that went from zero presence in this city to the ninth largest employer, about 4,000 employees. A recent study, although Bridgepoint did help finance some of that study, but showed that they had a $1 billion economic impact. A really important thing for a region like the rest of the country that's hurting.
Right, for private employees, 3,000 to 4,000 here.
Correct.
Are those employees likely to go to the main campus? If it's folding here, what is the impact here, do you think?
Well, the accreditation people in the Midwest are insisting that a large percentage of their executives and their staffing be in the region that they're accredited in. So it's possible that many of these San Diego-based people could move. That would mean less employment in San Diego. I think the other impact is on the students themselves, how many students there are worldwide who take courses from them, and whether they will start dropping out of Bridgepoint when they hear this news.
Yeah, because they can't get federal, bottom line is they cannot get federal financing or federal loans.
So they can't afford to go.
Right, so they may not be able to afford to go. Bridgepoint says they'll fight the decision.
Sure.
What would they have to do, either one of you, to stay in San Diego, is your opinion?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think if you look at their stock price, it's really taken a hit. And, over the past year, I just checked this morning, they're down 70% over their year high as far as their stock goes. And so we might even be talking about being in survival mode. And if you're in survival mode, it doesn't matter whether you're in San Diego or in Iowa, you just want to exist. And so I think certainly we're going to see a good chance that there's a presence that Bridgepoint has had here. Also in civic life, they sponsor one of the college football bowl games and some of the symphony. They spend their philanthropic money and marketing money here. A decent chance we see that move to the Midwest.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact. I want to move on to our second subject today, and that is this drama over the renovation at Balboa Park going on. Roger, let me start with you. Why do you think, first of all, city leaders seemed overwhelmingly, except for one, in favor of the project in the first place?
Because San Diego's been talking about getting the cars and traffic out of the center of Balboa Park for more than 50 years. There have been many ideas and suggestions for how to do that. It's in the master plan of Balboa Park to clear the cars out of Plaza de Panama. And it was only until Erwin Jacobs from Qualcomm stepped forward and said, I will raise $31 million, if not from himself, from other donors, to make this happen. And so the piper calls the tune, doesn't he? And this is what happened in this case. Yeah,
and got quite a bit of backing, but
Sure.
Civic projects typically don't engender such passionate controversy. Can either one of you address why you think this is so, just the drama over this?
Well, I think on the one hand, actually, projects do engender lots of controversy in San Diego whenever you're trying to do big things, convention centers, stadiums, giant renovations of the park. I think there is a lot of controversy over that. But I think secondarily, it's part of the reason that, Balboa Park being sort of the central focal point of the city. The city's crown jewel is described over and over again. And I think part of the problem here is that, I can understand why people got so upset, even though, everyone kind of agrees that the end goal that you get the cars out of the park is that, you have a really rich guy, no matter how benevolent he might be, gets to say what goes on in the city's crown jewel. And I think that people are upset by that because it sort of belongs to everybody.
Except that's always been the history of benevolent, people who are philanthropists and donate to the city, they have a big say in it because they put a lot of money into it. I wanted to ask you, Liam, about Bob Filner's appearance at the meeting. Can you tell us about sort of what happened, what he was doing there and what he was saying?
Right. So Bob Filner running for mayor of San Diego, Democrat, against Carl DeMaio, who's a city councilman, who was actually sitting pretty close to him or on the dais while Filner was talking. And it was sort of Filner kind of gave a kind of sort of absent-minded professor speech, wondering what would happen if or when Jacobs died, bringing a Kate Sessions look-alike to the stage,
right.
All sorts of kind of very kind of activist-y sort of behavior, and it's pretty stark contrast to Carl DeMaio, who was pretty statesmanlike, and when he was speaking, actually really interesting for the mayor's races. You have a contrast between two guys who are always very polarizing, and you see DeMaio potentially trying to move more towards the middle, while Filner being the same guy that we've seen for
in the stand-in. What was Erwin Jacobs' response? Which I have to say, by disclosure, he is a big supporter of KPBS, but still, I'm interested. What was his response at the meeting?
He was sitting in the front row all entire 7 hours of this meeting, and he had done the same thing at the Planning Commission in June. So his presence is felt. Some people think that he was kind of casting threats on people who opposed him. I don't think that's true, but they got the sense that this is sort of
sitting there, even silently, sort of dominating.
Yeah, he was the prince standing there, and if you don't go with me, I will cut your head off. Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
The impression was that, and it isn't really unprecedented that you have wealthy people in San Diego calling the shots. I mean, Balboa Park is littered with donations by all kinds of people who require certain things to happen for them to give them money. The Timken Gallery, which is in Plaza de Panama, is a perfect example of that from the 1960s. So the difference here is that the plan for Plaza de Panama and the rest of Balboa Park will make the biggest change visually at the center, or the access to the park in its history, with this bypass bridge that's planned on by the Museum of Man.
Couldn't it be that these people are a part of this is we don't want change. This is historical. We don't want change. There's this element of pushback. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to present this to both of you. First, you, Liam. Do you think this will kind of die down once people see the design, once it actually starts getting built? Do you think this is sort of a fire up right now because we can stop it, we can stop the change, but once it gets going, people kind of relax and accept it?
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of the problem here, and again, the arguments devolved less into like practical, whether this is good or bad, and really into emotion, lots of conspiracy theories and names being thrown on both sides. I think part of that is the proponents of this really didn't do a good job of coalition building. Groups like Save Our Heritage Organization, which we mentioned, are usually involved in being in the room. They get sort of part of what they want, and they negotiate a deal, and they're happy. I think that the fact that organized labor was not involved in this, should be a natural ally. New construction jobs when you're building a park, they weren't even contacted. And so when you don't have these sort of groups that could help coalesce and help blunt some of the criticism, you could get the situation that you have.
Okay, and unfortunately we are out of time, Roger, so I don't get your take. But in a sentence, can you tell me, do you think it'll change after construction begins?
I would say 10 years from now, if it is built as planned, people will have forgotten the battle.
Forget the whole battle. Well, thank you both, Roger and Liam. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Comic-Con doesn't just draw fans, it also draws thousands of creative types hoping to build a following for their work. KPBS art reporter Angela Carone says 2 San Diegans are presenting their own creation, a comedy series for the web about Antarctica.
You might think a show about Antarctica would require actual travel to Antarctica. Not for San Diegans Matt Hoyt and Jason Sherry.
My name is Matt Hoyt, and I'm the director of Antarctic
Hoyt plays a writer who goes to Antarctica to write the great American novel. He takes a job at a landfill and begins a series of adventures with a wacky mix of characters.
Antarctica.
The show's snowy Antarctic landscape was actually filmed in Hoyt's apartment in San Diego's South Park neighborhood, using a diorama.
This is sort of the central core area where our characters kind of live, work, and play. It is a fictitious landfill/junkyard in Antarctica.
Hoyt, who owns Starlight Lounge in Little Italy, created Antarctic Huh? With Jason Sherry, a well-known local artist. Sherry builds most of the props. He built the diorama and does all of the art direction.
This project is a way for us to do everything we ever wanted to do. Like miniatures I've always wanted to do, but I've never had a reason.
An upstairs bedroom has been converted to a green screen stage. Sherry has rigged an old toy helicopter to work.
That looks awesome.
With the magic of editing, that helicopter will look like this in the show. I asked Hoyt how he describes the show to someone like his grandmother.
Oh yeah, well, that's already happened. She was confused. She didn't know where we were making. She's like, so where'd you go to Antarctica to make this? And I was like, no, Grandma, it's all stuff, either photos or little things my friends build. And then we stand in front of this green screen and we talk. And I know a lot of people maybe might use technology like this to maybe make like a Star Wars fan film or a Star Trek fan film, but that's kind of like, it's not an original idea. It's just kind of revisiting something that's all we already understand. Whereas Jason and I's whole concept is we want to go somewhere that we've never been before, and we want to see something that we would want to see.
Sherry's retro DIY aesthetic is key to the show. He's built this costume made out of rope, along with a casket and a door to a fuel tanker. I asked Sherry if there's anything in the script he hasn't been able to make.
No, I can make anything, pretty much.
He can.
Also key to the show is the deadpan comedy.
We try to play it. Most of the performances, because most of the people in the show are non-actors, they're friends and things like that, we try to get people to play it sort of as straight as possible, or at least as straight as they're able to.
You can see everything.
Yeah, you can see everything, can't you? But they didn't have clothes back then, Nosh. That's how it works.
Literally, I found this in the closet today. Like, I was just, like, trying to clean, and there's, like, things like this everywhere. And so it's overwhelming.
When Allison and Matt married 2 years ago, she insisted they live in a house around the corner, leaving the apartment for the project.
He needed a man space, and I actually think it's the best thing that one of the best decisions we ever made as a couple.
Hoyt and Sherry are nothing if not dedicated. Despite doing as much as they can on the cheap, self-financing is starting to take its toll.
We just can't keep putting stuff on credit cards, and even though purchases are $5, $10, $50, $100, over the course of 2 years they've amounted to something rather substantial.
They've launched a Kickstarter campaign to raise $25,000. At Comic-Con, they're hoping to add new fans and pique the interest of industry reps.
We really do have serious intentions. We really would like people to, we'd really like to build an audience. We really want people to see this. If anyone from Hollywood is watching your program, they can call me and reach me at antarctica.com.
As for visiting Antarctica, Hoyt and Sherry say it's doubtful. Right now, they prefer their own surreal Antarctic adventure.
This is great.
Earlier this week, KPBS business reporter Eric Anderson talked to San Diego comic book artists and store owners asking if there is still room for comics at Comic-Con. G. Darklighter answered simply on Twitter with yes. Any other questions? On Facebook, El Chupacabra wrote, "Gone are the days when the con was a collection of comic book nerds and role-playing game rejects. It's now more of a South by Southwest meets otaku thing, like putting glasses on a hot girl." And Patrick Pierce's positive tweet reads, Just like Jell-O, there's always room for comics at Comic-Con. You can weigh in on this conversation or other news stories you've seen tonight by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, or you can always email us at publicsquare@kpbs.org.
San Jericho is a traditional style of Mexican folk music once played by rural farmers. A renaissance of this community way of singing has been emerging in the U.S.
It makes us feel connected to each other. It makes us feel connected to the earth. It provides us with just a lot of happiness.
Typically at the fandangos, or we'll gather around a dancing board and called tarima, where we get together and play music and dance at the same time. And we'll share the lyrics of the song. It's a very enriching and very sharing environment.
It provides us with community. It provides us with a connection to Mexico, which a lot of us are, originally from, or our parents or grandparents are from.
One of the fears in southern Mexico was that this was dying out because it's a rural music that was traditionally played by people in rural communities. As people were getting older, it wasn't being played as much. And a few decades ago, several key groups I don't want to say rediscovered it, but started to play it again and to spread it sort of throughout Mexico and especially here in the United States. I think one of the really interesting things about this kind of music is that you're often playing with people that you've never met. When you go to a fandango, there are often people there who you don't know, who you've never met at all. And that's the beauty of it, is that you can, regardless of your skill level, regardless of how long you've been playing, you have a role because it really is very open.
Adrian was playing the jarana. You can hear more San Jaroko music tomorrow at the 5th Annual Border Fandango at Friendship Park by the U.S.-Mexico border in the South Bay, starting at 11 in the morning. Tonight's stories are on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.